I'm Jake, and I'm Jess, or whatever. This is Rawcast. Hi, everybody.
Yes.
I'm Jake. We're good at this.
I'm Jessie. See, Jessie even feels weird for me since, like, it's just, I mean, it's my choice.
You can say whatever name you want. I mean, do you want to say Jesse Mama? I'm fine with saying Jake. Unless it really, like, bothers you that I have the same name as your cousin.
No, I don't care. But, I just, like, call you Draco so much, so it's hard for me to remember to call you Jake.
No, you're fine. It's, like, ingrained. I get it.
Yeah. And for me, like, I don't mind when people call me Jessie, but it feels weird calling myself Jessie. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Or even calling myself Jessica sounds weird. I don't know. I've never liked my name that much, to be honest.
What do you say to yourself when you're in the mirror and you're like trying to give yourself that little pep talk where you're like, okay, Jess, you can do this? Do you say, okay, Kaka, you can do this?
No. I say, okay, insane person.
Okay, so I'm Jake.
And I'm an insane person.
And this is the Cheeks and Geeks podcast.
Perfect. Love it. I like last night cause I couldn't sleep and Greg was out with friends.
Right.
I stayed home to like rest my voice and also to work on YouTube, and I just tried to find a movie to watch to like fall asleep to, and I put on Godzilla. And I watched the whole thing. And I was just like laughing. I was like, why did I choose? Well, it was like the 90s one, and I used to grow up watching it. It's like,
yeah.
I was like, I feel like it'd be a good movie to fall asleep to, you know, like, because I've seen it before, like, many times before, but, like, I couldn't fall asleep. And then I put on, like, season 1 of Stranger Things to try to fall asleep to that, and, like, I turned it down low and just, like, yeah, I'm like, I don't know. The thing is when I'm, like, have anxiety, I like watching, like, scary stuff because it lets out my anxiety in that way.
Yeah.
But when I'm home alone, I can't watch, like, actual horror, or else I'll get myself too spooked.
Right.
So I was like, monster movies, like, maybe I'll be fine. But I found myself rooting for Godzilla.
I mean, Godzilla in every movie, I feel like, is always seen as, like, the hero, but, like, not really the hero kind of thing, the anti-hero, maybe.
I thought that was more like King Kong. 'Cause I'm always Team King Kong. But I mean, he's an ape. There's not much that you can say besides that. Why I'm obsessed with him. But, you know, whenever I was like Godzilla versus King Kong, I always liked King Kong. And I feel like he was more like, he had more like compassion for him. Whereas Godzilla just seems like a monster to me. I mean, like, it kind of bugged me because they kept calling Godzilla a he. But in that movie, they reproduce. So I feel like they should have called her a she, just saying. But I guess gender doesn't matter. Anyways.
Maybe it's asexual.
They produce asexually. They produce asexually.
Yeah.
But I'm just like, why call it a he then? Call it either they or them. Like, I don't know. It just bothered me.
No.
But I think I kept thinking of like
the 90s.
Yeah, I kept thinking. I know. You know what they said? I'm not gonna say it, but they just said the R slur. Just like, stop being a blank. Like, yelled it, and I was like. And I mean, obviously it's the 90s. Like, it's not that crazy. But I guess I just haven't seen a movie where they've done that in a while, and I was like, oh my god.
Ace Ventura is one of those good examples too, where it's like how society has changed.
Oh yeah, a lot of people have issues with especially the first one. Both are pretty bad. I mean, I love them because I just grew up with them, but I can still love it and say that it's fucking terrible. Like,
yeah,
like, you know,
I mean, one slur in the movie doesn't necessarily take away the whole movie, right? You can acknowledge that was terrible, and was wrong, but doesn't necessarily need to be like, you know, it's slash it from your enjoyable movies kind of thing.
Yeah.
It's like a uncomfortable sex scene when your parents are with you and you're watching a movie, and then like that's what that moment is you're just uncomfortable during that moment, and then it kind of passes. Although the guilt is still there, where you're just like, well, I just watched a sex scene with my parents, so this is kind of weird.
See, I used to all the time because my parents was just like didn't really care, and like they're kind of the mindset that I could watch anything, but they actually prefer to be there so that if I like had any questions, I could like ask them. I guess I don't know.
It's gonna be
But I
really
remember
awkward.
the weirdest one was when we watched Knocked Up in theaters, and I was probably like 13 or something like that. My brothers were there too, and they were younger. And there was this scene where like he like calls, or she calls him to say she's pregnant. You've seen Knocked Up, right?
Yeah.
I'm assuming.
I don't
And,
really
like,
like Seth Rogen, but we could talk about that in a minute.
But anyway, so she calls him, and like all his friends are like, you know, like excited that like he's getting a call from a girl, right?
Right.
And they're all like pretending to like jack off, like while he's on
Yeah,
the
the background
phone,
noise,
and
yeah.
like really like like detailed like hand motions. I remember that was the weirdest part. Not like the sex scenes, because like they're not really that graphic if you think about it. It's just naked
No,
people
no, yeah.
kissing. But
PG-13 or
like,
whatever.
that was like I was like it was so awkward. I was just like, but
I mean, as a teenager, you
um,
get your friends to do that too, so that's not too far off from like what it
mhm,
is, right? So, like,
mhm,
I don't know if that's necessarily what it was, but I feel like if I saw that moment with my parents, um, like I've had it happen to me a couple times, it was more so like when I was
mhm,
getting a phone call from a chick rather than my parents. Um, it would be like that specific moment where it's like everyone's making noises or like moaning in the background, like
mhm.
just trying to make
Yeah,
the most disruptive scene ever, and it definitely encompasses that
yeah,
teenage scenario. But yeah, Seth Rogen, I don't know. Not to talk shit about the guy. I want to
yeah.
clear that up. I think he's a fine actor. Just his movies don't hit me the same way a lot of people do. A lot of his movies hit other people, so it's
Yeah,
just a
no, it's
preference
just
thing.
preferences. Yeah, it's just
Yeah.
preferences. I have a friend who like can't stand so many actors, like, but he loves Adam Sandler, but he hates like Paul Rudd, Will Ferrell, Jerry Seinfeld,
Oh my God,
Jason
really?
Bateman, like literally like so many comedians, or like comedic actors at least, but like, and like him and I always like butt heads, like not in like a aggressive way, but you know what I mean, like how friends.
Yeah, just argue about it. And like, why don't you like this movie? Or everything
Yeah.
like that.
Um,
Yeah, Bateman's a hard one to get really like,
I
love or
really like
hate kind of thing.
Bateman, but
Because
like
I
I
love
feel like
him.
I could understand. I think why people don't like him because
Yeah.
he's very unique. Like carries himself very unique. I feel like Will Ferrell. I could relate to like maybe why you don't like Seth Rogen. You know what I mean? It's
Yeah.
kind of like a lot of dumb humor. Um,
Right.
you know,
It's kind of like
it,
obvious humor that kind of you just made a movie
yeah,
about, but a lot of people
yeah,
like it. That's why a lot of people like Adam Sandler flicks, and
yeah. See,
I
I don't
honestly,
like Adam Sandler.
yeah, same.
He, um, but yeah.
There are a
And
couple
Paul
Adam
Rudd. I
Sandler
don't know how
movies I
you
like
can't like
though.
Paul Rudd. He's like the best. I don't know how you can't like Paul Rudd.
I do like Paul Rudd. He has like the childish humor though, and I think I can
Yeah,
see
he
why people
does.
don't like that. I think
Mm-hmm.
so for Adam Sandler, there are a few movies I like of his, like Grown Ups and
Mm-hmm.
stuff like that. But overall, he's one of those type of actors where I come in and I'll judge a movie a lot harshly just because he's in it,
Yeah.
right?
I didn't like hate him or anything. I just like don't find most of his movies funny. And he's even come
Right.
out and said that like he purposely makes some dumbest movies because he knows he could just make money and he thinks it's funny.
Yeah.
I do think he's like a genius though because he makes these movies and he's like a production company and he does them all in like Hawaii or like nice places. So he just
Oh
literally
yeah.
goes to Hawaii with all his friends and just films a stupid movie and makes money. Like,
There's a
hey,
scene from
live your
Brooklyn Nine
life.
Nine. I can't remember, but he was like, God, all your movies are like, or Jake, the Andy Samberg was
Mm.
like, what, uh, just go like do a movie or something like that. I can't remember. I'm pseudo coding. And he's like, I'll have you know that I'm doing a serious movie on blah blah blah, and he's like, oh no, I've ruined the whole joke because I can't remember what it is. I'm so sorry, viewers. But
Listeners,
like,
listeners.
or listeners, yeah. Basically, he basically is like he asks like which one of his friends is playing a role, and it's a very serious movie. And I think it was the guy with the. I mean, I hate to say it like this, but the bug-eyed guy. I can't remember his name. Whatever his name is.
I'm talking about oh crap.
Yeah. Sorry.
The guy that used
That's
to be a firefighter, Steve Buscemi?
yeah. I think he said Buscemi, and he's like, "Who's Buscemi playing?" And he's like, uh, he's like, "Oh, haha, very funny." And he's like, "Well, he's actually playing XYZ." And it's like he just goes around and hangs out with friends. And I feel like that is
Yeah.
honestly like wholesome as hell, but also like
Yeah, exactly.
bad for
Like I think
movies.
it's but I mean he makes money and people like it. So it's like do you. Like I remember a while back I was reading like I used to be really into like movies and TV. I used to subscribe to Entertainment Weekly when I was growing up.
Mhm.
And so every week I would have a new magazine. It was always about, and it was less about like celebrity gossip and more about like actual just like movies and television. And I remember reading an interview with Brendan Fraser, and it was around the time that like Journey to the Center of the Earth was coming out and stuff like that. And someone asked him, they're like, "You always do just like these like kind of like young adult, like child, like adventure movies. You know what I mean? Like, would you ever think of doing something more serious? And he's just like, it's fun. He's like, I get to go to these fun places. Like, I get to play fun characters. I had to do like, like he's like, I enjoy it. And I just, it's like there's so much respect for people who like obviously I love people who like, are trying to like hone their craft or you know what I mean, like be an amazing actor and do that, and that's great too.
Right.
But at the same time, why would you ever put down someone who's just having fun with life? I feel like that's
Oh yeah.
just and it's almost
Uh,
like how I think I view streaming because
Yeah.
like there's a lot of people who like sweat and like take it very seriously, and that's fine too. But I think for me, it's like I'm just trying to find a way to like enjoy my life and and do something that brings me joy. And so it's like it's not to me. It's not about like trying to prove myself to anybody or you know being
I
like the
mean that.
best this or that best that.
Yeah,
It's
yeah.
like I'm just trying to you know
Be
have
the
fun.
be enjoy it while you can. I mean, obviously you're trying to
Yeah.
be successful in a way where it's like
Yeah, and I try
you
my best to be
right.
successful, but
It's not like you're gonna sweat hard. I feel
but
like
success to me isn't sweating, I guess is what I mean.
right,
Like
yeah.
I see some streamers who are like, "Oh, I'm trying to be the best this or I'm trying to make the most efficient farm in this way." You know what I mean? And that's I'm not trying to put any of that down because I think that's great. I mean, that means you have
Oh
some
yeah.
kind of drive and something that's pushing you and that's
The
awesome too.
inspiration. Yeah.
Yeah, it's just not how I go about things.
It's one of those like feelings at the end of the day where you're just kind of like, well, I'm satisfied with the way I've done it. That's
Yeah.
really what matters
Yeah.
to most of us. I mean, huge difference. Like, I feel like Adam Sandler back in the day was hilarious. And I'm not saying
Mhm.
he's not funny now, but like,
Mhm.
he reminded me of like what Joaquin Phoenix does now and stuff like that. Like the method acting and like the whole, trying to be funny and everything like that. And like,
Yeah.
sure, he was,
I mean, I like 50 First Dates. So there's a couple like his older movies people really like too. I just haven't watched a lot of them. I remember
yeah,
liking like The Wedding Singer and stuff. When I say
mhm,
I don't like him, it's more like his more current movies. Although I haven't
yeah.
seen Uncut Gems, which is supposed to be really great. It was like a more
You haven't seen
serious
that
role.
yet, yeah.
I saw Punch Drunk Love though, and that's another more like it's more like a dark comedy, and that was really good too.
So, least favorite
Um,
actors. Who's your favorite that you always would like jump on the bandwagon of watching
like
them?
like just
Let's
any
let's go
actor,
for let's go
like
for comedian. Let's go
comedic.
for
Yeah, I was
comedian.
gonna say
Yeah.
comedic. Um, hmm. No, that's really hard. I'm trying to
Yeah.
think of like some. Honestly, I really do like Paul Rudd. Like if he's in something,
Yeah.
I'll usually watch it. Like I loved the show that he was on Netflix where he like had a clone. Oh my god, that was so good.
Is it
Actually, older actors, Gene Wilder. Obsessed with Gene
Oh,
Wilder's
Gene
like
Wilder, yes.
comedy. Like I
It's
just
a,
grew up on it,
you're
and
talking
he's
about Blazing
just
Saddles the other day, right? Or not the other day. It was like a couple months ago.
uh,
It's like we should watch this on
like a
on
movie night, and I was like,
movie night
no.
Discord, yeah. And everyone was like, "No, that's a terrible decision. It's very racist."
Yeah.
I'm like, "Yeah, but it was like obvious racism
It's I think it's like I don't
satirical
think it was
racism,
like
right?"
yeah, and I think it did a good job and I think it did great, but I just think that like through today's lens people might not
Oh,
appreciate it.
absolutely,
But
absolutely.
I don't think it was like when I was talking about Godzilla and the Arsler, like to me that's bad, but like this to me I don't think Blazing Saddles is bad.
No, no, yeah.
I think it's smart, but I think it is like a tough pill to swallow to watch.
Oh yeah,
And
especially because of how far we've evolved, quote unquote,
yeah.
as humans in a way. So yeah, no, I get it. It's just it was funny that brought back a memory of us having a conversation about
Yeah.
that. So I think you guys ended up
Um
watching Willy Wonka, if I remember correctly.
mm, no.
Maybe I swear it was a
We
Gene Wilder
watched
movie.
No, I don't think we ever watched a Gene Wilder movie that I can remember. We didn't watch Willy Wonka. We've watched my first ever one was Holy Grail, and then it was Princess Bride, I think. And then we watched
Maybe
The
not.
Witches or whatever that movie was called around Halloween, and then Miniba Totoro. But I think maybe I talked about watching a Gene Wilder
Maybe,
movie,
yeah.
maybe.
My mom's one of my mom's favorite movies is Young Frankenstein, and
Yeah.
it's a really good movie. So yeah, Gene's like a really good like example of
I like
comedy.
it. My family calls it like scrambling acting, where he's like, you know what I mean? Like it's very awkward. So people don't like awkwardness, or
Yeah,
the
the chaotic.
uncomfortableness
Yeah.
and the chaotic, and like where he's just like scrambling to make sense of things and stuff like that. But I love that stuff.
Oh yeah, for sure.
Um,
I think his
how about
type of
you?
comedy too is really good in the like nowadays. Like it ages well. I mean, some of
Mm.
it obviously, like Blazing Saddles,
Okay,
didn't
it's
age
kind
well,
of
but
similar to The Office, like just the cringe almost.
yeah,
There's a
yeah,
level, there is like a certain level of cringe, but it's different, but it does have uh that feeling to it too.
yeah, for sure. Um, my favorite. That's really. I was trying to think of it while you were talking, but obviously I was more involved in the conversation. I mean, comedy movies specifically. I mean, uh, I really like Jason Segel, um, and Andy Samberg in a few movies,
Yeah, Jason
but
Segel is great.
Andy Samberg really like some of his early movies really just threw me off and I didn't like, but they were like home movies, which is I don't know if that was the intention of the vibe of it, but um and then I mean, what what movie do I think about when I think funny? Probably Monty Python, but none of those actors ever really stood out to me again. So, um
I also really like Dumb and Dumber, so I love Jim Carrey. But that's really stupid
yeah,
humor, but I do love it.
I didn't care for Jim Carrey. It my type of humor is so weird. Steve Carell too, but like yeah, a movie like a good comedy movie really would make you laugh at rewatches too, which is kind of weird. Like Forgetting Sarah Marshall, and then I Love You Man was two of those movies are like some of my favorite movies. Although Forgetting Sarah Marshall wasn't like pure comedy, still had its funny moments,
Mhm.
and I feel like that was the whole. And I Love You Man was Paul Rudd. That's why I brought that one up because I do love that movie too. It just
Mhm.
kind of has that like you come back and watch it and like the moments aren't defined by the moment or the scene in the movie. It's defined by like the situation in real life and stuff like that. If that makes
Mhm.
sense. So stuff like that always got to me where I would laugh at it and come back and watch it and laugh at it. Kind of like The Office where there's stupid stuff in that movie where um there's a scene for those that know The Office or don't know The Office, this probably comes off really fucking weird. But uh Andy is new to the office environment, and he calls Jim, and he's like, "I'm really horny," and it's just comes out of left field. And you're just like, "What? Excuse me?"
Oh my
And
gosh.
rewatching it, like I totally forgot that he said that, and it still threw me through a loop. So like comedy like that, I always enjoy. Um, which I think some people really like Pineapple Express because it has that type of dumb comedy where you come back to it, it still has its slapstick humor to it, so it's not
Yeah.
harder. Oh, Grandma's Boy too. Oh, what's her name? The chick that plays Velma. I think she's probably one of my favorite like comedians. I
Well,
can't
Linda
remember her name.
Cardellini?
Maybe Linda Cardellini. I'd have to look it up.
That's Velma, the old Velma. That's her. Not old, but you know what I mean, like the 2000s.
Yeah, yeah, that's her, 100%. She's
Yeah.
hilarious.
She was in Freaks and Geeks. I love
Yeah,
that
Freaks and Geeks.
show.
Yeah, and Daddy's Home.
Um, um, so that was a really nice, I'm sure
Random.
Melody's gonna love that.
Yeah,
Um,
but
I'm sorry, I had to talk about Godzilla, and then it started this.
oh, that's
Um,
fine. It's fine.
but how have you been? I mean, it's been like 2 weeks, so I mean, we kind of like, I feel like
Yeah,
we
I
haven't really
mean,
talked. I mean, we've obviously talked, but not talked.
I am still mad at you for last week. No, I'm just kidding.
Yeah.
Really, I'm good overall. I've been addicted to Vault Hunters, playing that off stream whenever I can. Obviously, like I've school and I have the family to hang out with, so I'm not trying to like take
Have you
away
been
from
playing
that.
like off stream?
Yeah, I've been
I mean,
playing
after
off
stream.
stream a lot.
I mean, after
After
stream.
stream, yeah, yeah, after stream. And I grinded out a bunch of stuff. Coming Tuesday, it's gonna look like a whole different game to, to everybody, I think, because of all the dumb stuff I've done. And then Amelia's been having this really bad like habit of being like I don't know if it's nightmares. She's just afraid of bugs recently, and it's really sad to see because she normally doesn't. She hasn't had like a general fear up until the bugs thing. So and I've noticed in me where like I've been getting irrationally angry about it. So I'm gonna talk to my therapist about that. It's so weird being a parent because I don't understand why I have these feelings that I do.
Yeah.
Like Amelia
Is there
is
anything that
totally
started
valid.
the fear? Like, did she like read a book or see something on TV, or did she like have experience with the bug? Did it just come out of nowhere?
It seemingly came out of nowhere. I mean, with the way an imagination of a little kid works, I'm sure it was like something on a video or a TV that just kind of like triggered it in her.
Yeah.
Um, she is well, she's not as bad around loud noises, but for a
Hmm.
while she really didn't like loud noises, and now she's gotten better with it. But I don't know where that came from either.
Yeah.
Um, so it's one of those things where it's like you learn and um you kind of adapt as a parent. That makes sense.
It was funny. I saw this thing on Twitter, and it was like this. I don't know who this person, if what their role was, but there's some kind of like, I think they might have been like a social worker or something, but they were told to meet with a kid because they thought the kid might be being abused because they were drawing like these crazy monsters, like really scary monsters, and I guess that's a
Hmm.
sign or something. And so this
Hmm.
person like met with them, and they were drawing Five Nights at Freddy's characters.
That
So it's
sounds
just
about
funny. I
right.
feel like people just don't know what their kids are consuming all the time. You know what I mean?
Right.
And so it's just like,
You gotta keep an eye on
um,
it, honestly.
yeah. But like they just thought that they were just doing like these demon drawings, and they're just like, no, this is just from a video game.
Yeah, it's from Five. I've been watching Markiplier play it, you know.
uh,
It's one of those things where kids just, use their imagination to draw what they can think of.
yeah,
They don't realize how horrifying it can be.
yeah,
And I think that's what's great about it, like a kid's imagination is like it's not what's the word? It's not as um meta as like an adult brain, right? Where like we're so used to what's going on and how to deal with things and what's right and what's wrong to show emotionally in public. And kids are just like, well, you know what? I'm gonna draw, demons
hmm,
because they're really cool, kind of thing.
yeah, yeah,
I did have a really like bad like episode Tuesday too of the throwing up thing.
yeah.
I'm
That
still
was
dealing with some.
Tuesday.
Yeah, it was Tuesday or Wednesday. I think it was
I
Wednesday
think
actually.
I was gonna say, yeah, I think it was Wednesday.
But I like the past couple of days, my anxiety has been skyrocketed, and like even before streaming, I've just been like, well, I'm emotionally a wreck.
Yeah,
So, um, but as soon as you start, it's not that bad. But up until it was just pretty bad. What about you,
yeah.
Jess? What have you been up to?
Um, well, I'm finally like feeling better from being sick, and like I don't know, it's just been hard because I've been sick for so long, and
Hmm.
like on Sunday when I couldn't record the podcast, like I literally had like no voice that day, and like so it started last Sunday. That's when I first like didn't have a voice, and then I didn't really start getting it back till like probably like Wednesday. It started coming back,
Hmm.
and like I don't know. I've been trying so hard to like stay positive during this whole like COVID thing for the last 6 weeks or 7 weeks almost it's been.
Hmm.
And because it's life. Like there's no reason to just like fixate on negatives. Like you're just
Hmm.
gonna you have to get through it. It is what it is. But it just like I feel like this like last week it just kind of finally like hit me where I was just like I can't deal with this anymore. Especially losing my voice because um like I like to talk, like not just when I stream, I'm always talking. That's just my personality and that's just who I am. And so to not have like my voice, it just almost took away like a part of who I was. And I think on like Wednesday I got like really depressed and I was like crying throughout the day. That's when I went to urgent care too, and basically they just told me it's not really anything serious, it's just long COVID or whatever.
Right.
But I just wanted to go. Like I talked to my mom about it too, and she was like, oh, it'll probably go away on its own. And she's like, but if for peace of mind, she's like, you should just go. And that's kind of like she just knew that like I just needed to make sure there was nothing like serious that, cause like not like serious, but like if I got like strep or laryngitis or something that like could help me. Some kind
Yeah,
of
I mean,
medicine.
anything
So
could have been. Yeah. I
yeah,
mean,
so I
it's
just
so
wanted to go
sad.
for peace of mind, but
Yeah.
Um, but then like so I was like depressed throughout the day, and then at night I got started getting anxious. So it was just like a tough day. Wednesday was like a tough day, and then Thursday I finally streamed, but my throat was hurting the entire stream. Like the whole time I was like in pain. But I was still like happy to stream. And then Friday I was like finally like I think I just started drinking a hot tea, which I should have been doing like a long time ago, but I just don't really like hot tea that much. Although now I'm
Hmm.
liking it, and that's been helping my throat a lot. And Friday I was just like, it was like it's almost like when you are like down for so long. Because even when I was streaming before while I had COVID, I was like I was watching old like VODs of myself because I was uploading them. When I upload them, sometimes I'll just like skip through them and just just watch throughout here and
Right.
there. And I heard myself say like when I started, I was like, oh my gosh, I'm just exhausted. Like, I just got hit with like a wave of exhaustion right before my stream. And that's COVID. Like, you just get hit with these, just like, you just feel like lethargic and just so tired all the time. And so it's been weeks of just like, you know, congestion, exhaustion,
Dealing with the
coughing.
constant sickness and
Yeah,
not
it's
being
just
able to do
constant
anything.
sickness. Yeah. So even when I was streaming, I had my voice, it was still just, I wasn't really myself.
Right.
So, Friday, I finally, felt like energetic. I could talk without being in pain. Um, it was just like it's like when you go from feeling like that to like a semblance of yourself. It's very euphoric. That's what someone was telling me. I won't name them because they always freak out when I name them in the podcast. But they're like, yeah, it's like a feeling of you feel like euphoric. I could tell, and I was like, yeah, it's just
Nice to be back
um,
to who you were.
yeah. And that's one of the things that was making me really anxious last night is my throat was hurting really bad after streaming for 7 hours. And I was really worried I was gonna lose my voice again. I was in a lot of pain,
Right.
and I was just like, like you've streamed 2 days in a row. I was like, your throat hurt the first day too, and you were fine. So you're probably gonna be fine. And like, there's no reason to like get anxious about it now. Like if you have no voice tomorrow, then you can stress. But for
Right.
all you know, you might be fine. And of course I'm fine. So um,
I
I don't even have
mean,
a sore throat
even if
this
you didn't,
morning.
weren't able to do this today, we had a backup plan of doing text to speech in
Yeah.
our
I
podcast.
actually tried to
So,
get Greg. I was like, can you do the podcast with Draco? I
oh
was
my
like,
gosh,
he's like, no.
it'd be so funny to do a
He's not a big
podcast with
talker,
Butter.
so he's just like shook his head, like didn't even think it was funny. I was like, okay, sorry.
When we played League together and stuff like that,
Yeah.
I mean, we would be the awkward three guys because Oliver would play with
Yeah.
us, and we would just sit there play video games and random moments. One of us would say something, and then like say something back, and then it'd be another like 20 minutes of silence and just playing the game. And
Yeah.
I mean, it was fun. It was fun. Don't get me wrong. It was just one of those like
Yeah.
the your friendships are um they're good in the way that they are kind of thing. They
Yeah.
don't have to change them because someone's quiet or whatever.
hmm Um. Yeah, that's why like with my charity stream, I was thinking of adding something like to have Butter on stream or something or Greg because
Right.
people are always asking about him, and it's been like a really long time since I had him on stream. So we were just trying to figure out what to do because that's when we did a Q&A the first time. It was just really awkward. Like he didn't answer any of the questions. He'd be like, I don't know, I don't know. I'm like, okay, so what's this? And
This is the guy that tried to
and
talk you into streaming when he wanted to stream,
yeah.
right?
Well, because he tried streaming and he just like couldn't. Like it just
Yeah.
wasn't. I don't think it's for him. And but yeah, he knew like before I even watched Twitch or played Minecraft, he always told me like, oh, you would be good at streaming.
Right.
Um, Probably just because he knows that like I could just talk forever.
Talk, talk,
Um,
talk.
yeah. But yeah, and then I was thinking of like he like likes to do the Rubik's cube, so I was like, oh, maybe we like you could just like have you on and like we could time like do like a prediction and like time you do the Rubik's cube or something like that. And he's like, well, I haven't been practicing, so I'd have to practice. You know what I mean? I didn't want to like stress him out. And then he always watches like hot ones. He loves spicy stuff. I was like, oh my gosh, what if we did like a whole hot ones challenge like on stream and we got like because that's also like a Q and A and like
Hmm.
we could like talk, eat all the wings. He loves spicy stuff. It'd be fun for me to do too. So I think that's what I don't know if we'll reach the goal. I think I made it pretty high up, but um, we do it like a different stream. But I think that'd be fun.
Yeah, it
And
definitely
like it's
sounds like
it's more
fun.
than just like being put on the spot to talk, and it's like it'd be more like you have something to do as well, and like talk about the spicy food and stuff like that. So,
Right. And he could
um,
like, you guys could like have a few questions that you could ask, or
yeah, I was thinking of recording it and putting it on YouTube, but I was like, no, because like I don't want people to be able to ask like live, and like I think people want him on stream. You know what I mean? They want to be able to interact with him. So,
right. I think
um,
it's important to have like a baseline, especially for like, not to say you're awkward, Greg, but like, for people
he
more
doesn't listen
awkward,
to
I think
this.
it's
He'll have no clue.
okay. For people that are more awkward, like, it's better to have a baseline. So if you have like a set of questions, like you could have viewers
Submit them, yeah,
submit some
beforehand.
questions, and then like you could have follow up questions to that, or maybe
Yeah,
he'd start feeling more comfortable after answering a few questions, and then maybe you guys could like start answering questions from chat specifically and stuff like
yeah,
that.
yeah, yeah. I think someone mentioned that too, like having people ask questions beforehand. It might have been you. I
Yeah,
don't remember, but yeah,
maybe I
we'll
don't know.
probably do something like that if we hit the goals. We'll see, but yeah, I thought that'd be kind of fun way to have him on because it is kind of like he's not only like obviously in my chat a lot, but um, he does like support me and my stream, and and
Hmm.
he he likes that he because he's a Twitch person, so he loves it. That I get to play games and
Yeah,
chat
he's
and
like
all
living
that kind of stuff.
vicariously kind of through you.
Yeah, yeah. Um. Okay. Well, any thing coming up that you're excited about that you want to talk about? Any news? Any things with stream? You're doing the next special stream this Friday, right?
Yeah, the shocking stream.
Mm.
I'm really excited about it because it's something I never thought about like doing until I watched a couple other streamers do something related to this, where like
Mhm.
it would be like uh the truth telling or the lying type of thing, and then like if they lied they would get zapped by their like friends and stuff like that. So it was kind of like a dorky like, oh, every time you did this you'd get shocked, and I was just like, well, like how could I do that for a Minecraft stream? And I was like, oh yeah, like I did have hardcore. I'm pretty good at the game now, so like every time I take damage, I'm gonna get shocked. And it's not shocked. If you guys know what a TENS unit is, it's basically like a massaging um unit that helps your muscles out. But I'm gonna crank that baby up, and then it's more of a shock value rather than like actual shocking. So I'm not gonna get
Yeah.
hurt.
Yeah, I
But
get that when I go to the chiropractor.
yeah, so
And they crank it
it's
up like the highest, and it hurts, but it feels good at the same time. Like
yeah,
it's good. It's good for your muscles.
yeah, exactly. So it's not intended to like hurt me or anything. It's just more so
Yeah.
like basically get
Well,
like a
it'll already be
reaction
done
out of
by the
me.
time this comes out.
Yeah, most likely. So we'll see how it goes on stream. I'm thinking
Mhm.
about doing a crowd control too, which is kind of funny that you did it this
Mhm.
Friday, because now I was like, I don't know if I want to do it so close to you doing it, but um, I probably will anyways, because I feel like it'd be really fun to. I'm gonna try and do a speed run and see how far I can get without any issues.
Yeah.
And if I'm able to like complete or even get close to completing one, I'll probably just hop over to crowd control. That way we get a little bit of like me playing it by myself and having the experience of it versus me playing it with people being able to fuck with me constantly.
Yeah. My friends from high school, I hung out with them a little bit after like during college, and they're like a bunch of nerds, like valedictorians, like
Right.
and I remember we like one of them had one of those machines, and we did like 1v1 trivia where it's like if you didn't get it right like first, you would get the shot.
That's great.
um, so it was fun. It was fun.
Yeah,
Um,
it sounds exactly like how I'm doing it, in the sense where it's just
yeah,
like, well, if you take damage, you get shocked, so
yeah,
just get good, kind of thing.
yeah, yeah.
I like it. I think
Um,
it's always fun. Like being shocked, like actually shocked, is painful, but like something like that is just more so like playful.
it's
Where
more like the suddenness of it. Like it doesn't
yeah,
actually like really hurt. It's more just like oh, like the even like when I get massages, there's parts of it that kind of do hurt a little bit, but it's good. You know what I mean? Like it's not
hmm,
actually like it's not physically putting you in like pain or like damaging you or hurting you. It's more just like you know, it's like an uncomfortableness.
yeah. It'd be like the equal thing would be like Brittany would come out and just jump scare me every time or something.
Yeah. I mean,
Although,
yesterday Jeff gave me a pick jumpster and I started coughing uncontrollably because I gasped. I was like, like dying. Uh,
it's one of those like I'm excited for it. I don't know
yeah.
how well I'm gonna do with it because I feel like depending on like the how my body reacts to it, like I could just get used to it
Mm,
quick and then just be able to be fine for the rest of it. But
yeah.
um
You'll probably get used to it.
yeah, exactly. It'll be one of those things, and then we'll have to crank it up even higher. I don't want to start at the highest setting because then I'll just get used to it at the highest setting.
Yeah. Yeah, it's better to start it lower.
Yeah,
Um, that'll be fun. I'm sad I'm gonna miss most of it, but maybe I'll be able to catch the end of it or something.
yeah, maybe.
Or some
So,
funny clips, I'm sure.
do you have any plans?
Well, I did push my charity stream a week out. It's supposed to happen the day this podcast comes out, the 18th, I think. 18th. It was supposed to happen, but because I've been sick, I just wasn't sure if I'll be like, because I might stream for 16 hours, like that's the cap,
Right.
and I just want to make sure I'm like at my best, and so I mean, how I feel now, I probably will be, but still, even yesterday, 7 hours, my throat was hurting like really, really bad, and so I don't want that to um, happen during my charity stream, my 2 year anniversary charity stream.
Yeah, you want to make sure you have some time in
So
between to make sure you're good.
I'm pushing it into the 25th. Which I actually found, well, so the original day was also when MCC is, and I also found out somebody else is doing their 1 year stream, and they're doing a charity stream on that same day. Not that somebody like that I'm close to in the community, but still, like, you know what I mean? I was like, it's good. Now I'm doing like my own day, and there's nothing else going on that I know of, so um, it was
Right.
fine. It's gonna be a little late from my anniversary, but now it's closer to my affiliate anniversary, so it doesn't really matter. But but yeah, so that's coming up, and I already like Wednesday night, because I was like, upset all day and couldn't stream, but I was like, you know what, like I'm gonna do like, my thing with me is I've been feeling really overwhelmed with stuff lately, so something I've been trying to do is just take things, step at a time, every little bit at a time.
Hmm.
When I get a chance, just one little small thing that I could do. And so I was like, you know what? I have all these like I have like a list of all these things I want to do for the charity stream, but let me like write it all out and then like add values to it, like dollar amounts, and get all that planned out. So I did that Wednesday night, and so I have pretty much, there's a couple things that I'm still trying to lock in, but um basically I have most of it figured out, and so um that's exciting to kind of know what direction I need to work on the graphic and stuff once I solidify my plans, but I'm excited. It should
Right.
be fun. Charity streams are a little tough though, because like I've had ones that do really well, ones that don't, and so it's like you just never know how it's gonna go. But I think the money you can raise is awesome, so I try not to put
Yeah.
too much pressure. It's not necessarily like that I feel like bad about that I didn't raise enough, because at the end of the day, it's still more than I could give myself. But
Right.
it's more like you create all these fun plans and you don't get to do them because you didn't reach the goals, and so it's like I think there's a little bit of like bummerness in that.
Oh yeah,
Um,
for sure.
but I always
I
do
mean, I did
stretch, like,
something similar to that where I
yeah.
did when I did my charity stream, we reached the goal pretty quick, but um there was a goal that I was thinking about or had written down, and I was like, well, if we reach this, like I will, create a rap track or whatever, because I was like, I'm terrible at rap, but I love rap, so it's one of those things where it'd be
Mm-hmm.
funny. And we didn't reach the goal, and so I'm still like I could still do that kind of thing in my brain, so
Mm-hmm.
it's
Yeah, it's like my
definitely get where
first
you're coming
charity
from.
stream. I made a stretch goal because I hit my goal early too, and mine was to recreate the um, Rick Roll video.
Oh my god, that would have been great.
Which if I ever do a subathon, I'll probably put that as like the top goal.
Are you
But
gonna have Greg
yeah,
as one of the background dancers?
he would die if I asked him. I don't know. I'd probably have like maybe like, well, like my cousin, my brother. I don't know. Some of my family maybe I could get to
Maybe
be
your
in part of it.
cousins, both
Yeah.
Luke and Stingen would do
Well,
it.
Stingin's in Kentucky, but
Oh,
maybe,
true.
maybe. Um, but yeah, so I'm excited. I'm excited to have all that set. So the 25th, possibly it'd be either like I think it starts at 8 hours and then it goes up to 16 or something like that. So,
Yeah.
um, but But yeah, which is kind of better because I think last time I did this last year, I did like 16 hours straight and I was exhausted. Like I didn't have increases. I just said, okay, we're doing a 16-hour stream. And so now I'm like, okay, well, maybe I won't have to do 16 hours.
Right.
16
I
hours is if
mean,
we reach our goal. And I've never reached the goal that I set every time, which is like $1,000. So I doubt it.
yeah, it's quite a bit. Unless you have some like mystery dono guy.
Well, my first share stream, I set $500 and I raised almost over 900. So then
Ooh,
after
yeah.
that, I was like, that's why I was like, okay, 1,000. And then I've never been able to get like anywhere near 900 now. But I'm like, you never know. So I guess I'll just keep it at 1,000.
Hmm. Yeah,
Um,
it's charity goals like you don't want to. It's one of those like you want to set a realistic goal, but you also don't want to set a goal that's like out of proportion
yeah,
to you want it to be obtainable, especially when it comes to charity streams, because then you that final goal people can push for and stuff.
yeah. But we'll see. Who knows? Um, I have some fun like redemptions too. I talked about
Hmm.
this on stream, but um, I'm gonna have like you know how like when I do my special streams I'll have like one day only channel point redemptions. So I'm
Hmm.
doing one for a chair instead it's like you can't do channel points, it'll be for money. But I won't make it too expensive. I think it's gonna be like $20, but it'll be like a gateway at the end, like designed and named after you. So I think that'll be fun. That might entice some people to
That
so I
would
feel like
be
$20 is it's not like too much, but it's not too cheap. So
it's not like a $5
um
like face
yeah,
tattoo kind of thing
yeah, yeah.
or sticker
So
or whatever you call it.
yeah. Um, but yeah, should be fun. So that's the news. Nothing really else. I don't think that I can. Yeah, I just started my Duo World of Prov yesterday. That was fun. And butt
Yeah,
cheek
you guys are
died.
having fun. Yeah, you guys didn't die the second time, right?
No, no. But yeah, it was fun. I feel bad
Hey,
because I was like harassing him so much for dying, and I think he thought I was actually like annoyed. I'm like, no, I don't care. It's like good
right.
content, if anything. It's funny, but
I've been
but
looking into setting up a D&D thing too, but I have no idea how plausible that is for me right now.
yeah,
I really want to do it, but I want to do it in a sense of like it being fun for us and also kind of being entertaining for like if I post it on YouTube kind of thing,
hmm
where people could be like just watch it and kind of like experience it with us kind of thing.
yeah,
And I'm not a huge like stage actor, but with streaming I've gotten good at playing up bullshit kind of thing. So I've been having fun like thinking about how I've changed because I used to play D&D and I used to be very reserved in the military and stuff like that. So when I played with other people, I was usually the quiet, reserved guy, and now I'm more of a like open and I mean I'm still pretty reserved when it comes to streaming, but I know that I'm doing stupid stuff and enjoying it. So like I recently, I don't you were saying that you know about the whole Darko thing. Um, I don't know if you knew I was gonna do the whole alter ego thing, but I was having
for
fun
D
with
and
that.
D.
No, it was for just me on stream because like there's Darkiplier and there's like whoever Jacksepticeye guy's like alter ego is. I know a bunch of like YouTubers that have alter egos, arcs and stuff like that. And I thought it would be like funny to do something similar to that. So my alter ego is a smoker.
Oh, oh my gosh.
I was doing that on stream the other day and I was just having fun with it.
Oh, I think I missed that. I know someone called you Darko on accident on chat, and then my chat, and you were like, "Oh, thanks for the good idea," or something like that.
Yeah, yeah.
But
I thought it
yeah,
was a really fun idea, and so I was kicking that around.
that's fun.
D&D
Um,
is definitely not like something I should have like announced, but I'm definitely looking into it. So it's something where I want to put to pen to paper kind of thing, or not pen to paper,
yeah,
but yeah. I already have a DM, so that's the hard part out. Like, if anybody knows how D&D works, usually having a DM
yeah.
is more
So
tough.
now you just gotta get. My family does a lot of D&D. My brother does. He's a DM. He does a
Mhm.
lot. Um, oh gosh, for 45 minutes, we still haven't even talked about.
Yeah, we're fine.
Oh, I don't care. I don't
We
care.
had 2 weeks of catching up to
Catching
do.
up. Yeah, exactly, exactly. We had to talk about Paul Rudd for like 20 minutes. I mean,
I mean,
duh, it's very
yeah. Let's get
important.
back to that real quick. Like Paul Rudd. Am I
That's
right?
our topic of the week, Paul Rudd. um, okay. But I guess we can, unless there's anything else you wanted to say.
No,
Um,
I'm good to jump into the subject.
so, excuse me. I feel like I have a lot to say, but I don't have like organized thoughts on this, so we'll just have to see where our conversation takes us. But we wanted to talk about like kind of just some of the more negative aspects about Twitch as it comes to like hate rating and like bot attacks, bot rating, and that kind of stuff. I think it's also kind of current because it's Pride Month, and I know some people are dealing with a lot of hate raids right now for Pride Month. So,
Oh yeah, for sure.
And so yeah, I don't know where we wanted to start with this topic. So, okay, I have something I wanted to talk about. As it comes to like just trolling in general, but it could relate to like hate rating and bot attacking too. It's a conversation I had with some people on my team actually, and this was not recently, but it was back when there was a lot of hate raids going on. I don't know if you remember that. Obviously, it happens every so often, but it was the last time it was like really big. And
It's like August or something like that. Right?
Yeah.
Maybe sooner. But
Some people in my team like are of the opinion that like, and this is a valid point, that you just shouldn't obviously be affected by it, and especially when it comes to bot attacks too, because that's what they're trying to get. They're trying to get a reaction, and so it's best to kind of just not give those kind of people any attention and just take your steps that you need to do to depends on what kind of attack it is, but obviously if it's just like a 1 or 2 off troll ban or timeout forever, or if it's a bot attack, you can turn off your alerts, or that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
Clear chat, there's steps that we know we could take, and even Twitch has come out with like tools that could help you try to prevent them, although people say they don't really work that well. I'm sure they prevent some
tools that Twitch works with, like the follower remover and everything like that, with the
yeah. But anyways, so they're like very strong on the opinion that like creating a whole big fuss about it. It's just like, why are you creating a whole big fuss? Like you should just, like that's just feeding into like what people want, right? Which it's fair. It's a fair argument, but to me, I just don't really like. I think, and people have said that to me too. Like when people are like mean to me, like, oh, like don't let it affect you, blah blah blah. But it's like, if you're like part of like a marginalized group, it's hard, and like you don't even have to be part of a marginalized group. Just if you're a human being in general, it's not easy to always just not care. You know what I mean? And so I feel like that attitude, it's like, yeah, that's great if you have the capability to do it. And some people have said like, well, then just don't be a streamer. And I see this on Twitter all the time. Like, if you're going to be too sensitive about it, then just don't be a streamer or whatever, And I just think that that's so like, that's just like a toxic mindset. And like we're allowed to be human beings. We're allowed to be affected by stuff sometimes. And like, yeah, it'd be best if we didn't get affected by it, but I'm not a robot. And especially with like some of these streamers who are even more marginalized than me, because the most I get is just like sexist stuff. But every once in a while I get a homophobic person, but that's like really rare. But they get it like every day sometimes. Like there's trans streamers who get it every single day, and like how can you not let it get to you? You know what I mean? How can you not let it at least affect you a little bit? Especially when it's like relentless like that. And so I just feel like there should be some conversation about like it being okay to have feelings and reactions, because I always see this argument that's just like, don't be so sensitive, or just suck it up, or you're just giving them what they want, when it's just like, we're human beings, like
the biggest controversy is like, it's not only Twitch. Twitch is probably one of the most obvious because it's a live streaming platform, so it's happening in the moment, right? Or we get those hate raids, we get those XYZs, but it happens everywhere, honestly. Like you see on Reddit, they have like those subreddits dedicated to things like that, and like if they're truly hateful or like truly like slimy, those subreddits get removed and stuff like that. But it takes a while. It takes it's human error, right? Where like we only have so many eyes everywhere, and so when it comes to the whole internet and as a whole, there's so much anonymity, anonymous,
and then anonymity,
anemone, sea anemone,
anonymity.
Anonymous.
Anemone.
There's a lot of anonymous on the internet, so people can get away with like either their true feelings or their trolly feelings, or if they just want to stir up drama. Um, it's kind of like it's it's kind of a what's the word, like it's a just distinction between real life and kind of like a drama show. Like you do stuff on the internet and you're kind of stirring up drama because you don't think you're gonna get punished for it and stuff like that. Um, and it happens all over. I mean, YouTube recently has had some stuff about um, two big streamers, kind of like one dude basically threatening another dude's mom and stuff like that, and the other dude getting banned because he was using his first right to complain about and everything like that. It's just kind of annoying, in a sense of the internet being such a place where a lot of us kind of look at it from our own jaded view of, well, I'm always right, so I need to be in this kind of stance. Um, and I'm not saying that hate rates and everything are right. Um, and I think I agree with you specifically that we have to have feelings, because as a streamer, if you aren't putting feeling into your stream, maybe you shouldn't be streaming because, in my opinion, if you're getting a hate rate and you go, well, don't let it affect you, like, it's your stream, something that affects your stream should affect you. It's where you go to produce your own content, talk about
Yeah.
things, play your video games. If somebody else is trying to gate that or prevent that, like,
Mm-hmm.
I don't think that's okay.
Yeah.
Is it Twitch's fault? I don't think so. I think Twitch can only do so much. They can have so many tools, and at
Yeah.
the end of the day, they have a limited amount of like,
Mm-hmm.
staff and everything like that can handle it.
Yeah.
Um, Now that being said, it can't. Should you continue to let it affect you? I don't think so. I think at the end
Yeah.
of the day, um,
Mhm.
it was one instance. I just recently got a bot right again, botted for follows or whatever, and it was after I insulted some new viewer, and so I just laughed about it because I was just like, "Wow, you're kind of sad where you don't get the reaction you want, so you try to follow bot me because your feelings are hurt and everything like that." Like it it's one of those things where it's like it's so ingrained in my brain now at this point, and I don't get hate raids, or I've gotten one hate raid in my Twitch career, so um, and that's because I'm a cis white male, and
Yeah.
I I don't think, I mean, people can hate me, but um,
Mm-hmm.
I'm not very stereotyped. Other than the fact
Yeah.
that I am a white male, like
Mm-hmm.
I don't
Well,
know. It's annoying, but at the end of
yeah.
the day, I want to protect
It's the
people that
internet.
deserve it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
One of the things that I've been trying to do lately is when I get like people in here being like nasty to me, is in the moment, like I'll just kind of like brush it off, but then like maybe like 10, 20 minutes later, I'll bring it up and like kind of talk to my community about it,
Mm-hmm.
because like I don't want to give that person the gratification in the moment, because that
100%.
is like what they're looking for, is they're looking for you to get like upset or to like argue with them, or to just like, they're just trying to get you like riled up and to disrupt your stream. But I also think like it could be like a learning moment for like the young people in our community to like talk through things,
Mm-hmm.
and just to kind of talk about like, okay, this is how I felt, you know what I mean? Like this doesn't bother me, but this does bother me, or just just I think the most recent one I got was like I've been getting people calling me fat lately, people like coming in and like making fun of my appearance,
Yeah.
stuff like that, which to me like that's like the littlest thing you could do. Like that does not like really bother me, because like I just don't really care.
I don't
I'll
really care
talk
if it's
about
an
it a lot.
insult.
I'll talk about it
It's
only just because I like to like bring it up in the sense of like culture, like just to show like how our culture is. But
yep.
like it doesn't really like get to me. Like I get more bothered by like sexism.
Mm-hmm.
But when people come and be like, "Oh, you're fat," like they let fat bitches on Twitch, like stuff like that. I've gotten that, and I'm just like, I'm like that's like the way I look is like the least exciting thing about me, I think. You know what I mean? Like who I am as a human being, and like how I treat people, and like my values, like
Mm-hmm.
that stuff's important. Like if you think I'm fat, fine. You know what I mean? Like, I don't really care. I don't know. I don't care if I'm fat. You know what I mean? Like, I don't even know if I am. Like, I go back and forth. I just don't care. You
Right.
know? And, but like, I like to talk about it because I'm just like, like, this is, it's really hard being in a larger body in this world. And,
Mm-hmm.
it's really sad that, people put down people for that, and make them feel like they're any less than anybody else. So I do like to
Yeah,
talk about
I
it later.
don't like the whole plus size insulting kind of thing.
Yeah.
And like I'm a skinny dude, but I've seen you get comments. I've seen a lot of streamers get comments like that, and I've seen it on TikTok where people are just insulting people at the gym for working out and then also being like, fat, and it's just like they're literally at the gym trying to work on their body. Like, why are you basically like shaming them for
Yeah.
having a body?
Yeah.
That's awful.
And what people don't understand too, not to get like really into like fat phobia and
Hmm.
just like, bodies and stuff, is like so much of it is like not really in everyone's control, like like for instance, for like me, like I don't eat like terribly. Like I don't eat great, but I don't eat like terribly. It's not like I'm just like, gorging myself all the time. You know what I mean? But I just have a bigger body. And like if I
Hmm.
wanted to be like skinnier, I'd have to like be super strict with like what I ate and work out like a ton. And it's just like that's just not the lifestyle that I want. Like I want to exercise, but not for like my body. I want to exercise for my mental health, for like just my physical health, just to have like a healthy heart. That's why I want to exercise, not because I want to have a celebrity body. I could care less.
Right.
And eating healthy too. It's like I don't want to eat healthy. Like I want to enjoy my life, and food to me is a part of enjoying life. And I basically just try not to like overeat. So like I'll eat what I want, but like I just try not to eat a lot of it. You know what I mean? And it's just like I don't consider myself necessarily unhealthy. And so to me it's like if someone wants to call me like fat, it's like okay, like I'm still beautiful.
Hmm.
And even if that's true, and like the way someone looks doesn't equate to their health. And I think that's something that really bothers me, and something that I've been like trying to preach a lot about, is that because there's like people who are anorexic and people compliment them. They'll be like, oh, you look great, or oh, you lost weight. And it's like you don't know if someone's losing weight a healthy way.
Right.
And anorexia, like I think, is one of like the top like preventable deaths, like things that like you do to yourself, because people just literally kill themselves not eating.
Right. Yeah.
And so like I just
I
hate
think.
that idea that like if you see someone who's fat, they're automatically unhealthy, and that's just not, it's not true, you know.
Yeah. Honestly.
Especially women, they're meant to be like bigger because they're meant to carry babies, and to have like that cushion and that, you know.
I mean, that's the whole Hollywood mentality, right? Where like
Yeah.
people start getting skinny to be famous and
Yeah.
like be in the right
So
roles. It's sad.
so when I talk about it, it's not to say that I'm like bothered. It's more like I like to talk about this topic and to like
Right.
spread more
Yeah.
awareness and
Spread
um
spread the positivity instead of the
yeah.
negativity.
Yeah, exactly. Um,
But I think like people like that. I mean, to get to the sexist comments specifically, I started
mhm.
watching Peaky Blinders recently, which
Oh, I love
I
that
don't really
show.
like it.
Ooh.
Just kind of a weird. I like it. I like it in the sense of like it's really good, but I feel like a lot of people have been started relying on the old days, and I feel like a lot of the sexism from it kind of like it 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 reinforces stereotypes, right?
You think it just like glorifies it?
Yeah, and I mean the way they treat women in that show from the first season, at least, I don't know how more of it does, but uh, from what I've seen, it kind of just like the way they insult women, they kind of treat women like they're what's the word? They're like they're objects to be used kind of thing. It I've seen a lot of shows do that where it's um they turn women into this type of thing that's like something to be targeted and like insulted and kind of like what's the word? Like they want to return to the old days kind of thing. And I think a lot
Yeah.
of people look at that shows like that and everything like that. I mean, the reason why I brought up Peaky Blinders is because it's one of the more famous shows on Netflix right now. Um, it insults. It doesn't insult. I mean, it's what it was back in the day. But um, it definitely glorifies that whole concept of women are on the lower half, and I can see why people even nowadays are
Yeah.
dealing with that type of
Well,
thing.
I really have an interesting topic because I feel like I'm probably getting off topic, but whatever.
You're fine.
Just like art doesn't like exist in a vacuum. Do you know what I mean?
Hmm.
It's like I always think about the Joker movie because it's an amazing movie. I love Walking Phoenix. It's a great movie,
Yep.
but it created this glorification of like very toxic masculinity, mental bad showing mental illness because
Yeah.
like he obviously was like had issues and like it, like I can watch that movie and think this is messed up and it, you know, but then some men or boys watch the movie and they like see him as like a hero, and that's why there's this whole conversation about that movie and that it just, you know, wasn't great culturally in that sense.
Right.
And you can argue, but that's, you know, it's still a great movie and like that's not the point, but it's like it doesn't matter because that's the effect it had. I'm not saying it's a bad movie, but I'm always going to have a little bit of distaste with that movie because of what it
Right.
did. And I think that's kind of in a sense what you're getting out of Peaky Blinders. Like I love
Right.
Peaky Blinders. I watch it and I don't see it as like a positive the way they treat women, obviously. And I love Killian Murphy, however you say his name.
Yeah.
But
He's such a
there
good
is a sense
actor.
that people like love them, right? They think they're just like badass and they glorify them, but it's just like these aren't really the heroes we should be glorifying, you know,
Oh
when
yeah,
they're
absolutely.
treating women and they're very vient, obviously.
Yeah. I mean
And so I get
the
what you're saying in that
razor
sense.
caps are
Yeah, that's
just
really what they
insane.
do. They have
Yeah.
razors in the hats and they're just slicing people. But so I guess that's the thing is that, you know, and I guess that, I mean, kind of relates to our topic in general where it's just like we're in a very I can't think of the right word, like I want to say symbiotic, but that's a word that I know, but I don't know if I know enough to use, but just there's give and take in our society,
Hmm.
you know. Everything that happens, like it's a ripple effect, you know. It has cultural meaning, so it's like, you know, when you're seeing like people like being hateful and doing that kind of stuff, it's ignoring it isn't necessarily gonna fix it. You know what I mean? But
Yeah.
like it's almost like anti-racism, right? It's like actively speaking out against it and actively, you know, fighting against it is I think a good way to do it.
Oh,
And
absolutely.
especially as someone like that's me and you that's privileged, so it's like, you know, um
I
you know,
mean,
if
I
I when
think
I
good
get people
examples.
in
Oh, go ahead.
just
I was
one
gonna say a good
last
example.
thing,
Go
but
ahead.
one last thing, like when I've gotten a couple like bot chat raids that were like racist. Do you know what I mean? Like just saying like
Right.
really racist things. But it's like, why did they even target me? I don't know. But you know what I mean? Like when that happens, I take it as a moment to like speak out against that. You know what I mean? Because obviously
Oh
I'm
yeah.
in a place of privilege where like I don't deal with racism, and so it's like I'm, you know, I'm not going to ignore that. I'm not going to just let that happen. I'm going to take that in a moment to say like, no, this is not okay. You know, and actively, you know, show my support and to me that's more important than not being bothered. You know what I mean? I'd
Right.
rather like to me it's a moment where I can do something and try to make a positive impact.
It's definitely like you want to turn it around on its head, and
Mhm.
I mean some people are just like ignore the issue and then you don't have to worry about it as much kind of thing. And I feel like it
Mhm.
ends up being like both ways I feel like are pretty tasteful in a sense, as long as you're not actively like giving them what they want and, you know,
Yeah.
telling them specifically to fuck off. But like making an example of them is kind of what like society teaches us to do in a sense anyways. Although like we don't want to you know, we don't want to give them that 50 seconds or the what is it, the 5 seconds of fame or whatever, um where they could be on social media and be all over the place, just like the school shootings and stuff like that. It's um you know, you don't want to give them that vindication of, well, I did this and now I'm on social media, so therefore I kind of win.
Yeah.
It's more so you kind of want to just not, you want to, you know, ignore them while they're there and then, you know, deal with the issue later. That way you can actually like teach. It's a teachable moment afterwards, kind of thing. It's it's just sad that you can't
Mm.
teach them specifically because if you start to talk to them or talk about them, it kind of gives them what they want, right?
Yeah. You know what's something crazy? I just saw this online, so I'm not gonna. It wasn't TikTok, I think it was Twitter. So obviously this could not be valid. But a bunch of people were saying like this was true, and like I wouldn't be. This doesn't surprise me, but about like Columbine and how the narrative is always about like mental health. You know what I mean? Or like bullying,
Hmm.
right? There's like this whole thing about people being bullied and they're coming and doing this, and people were saying actually the people who were responsible for Columbine, it was like racially motivated, and they were white supremacists, like they were part of white supremacist groups.
Right.
But there's this like and a lot of these attacks are white supremacist groups, and like we don't want to talk about the radicalization of like young
Yeah.
white men, and like that's like a big core issue. Like obviously mental health's big, and bullying and guns, I mean that's all, it's all related, like I said, everything's symbiotic. But that's one thing that I think that we don't want to talk about, that
Right.
there's like this big, and we see it online, like we see it on Twitch, we see these, that's the people doing this to us too, are usually these kind of boys. I'm gonna call them
Right.
boys because they're
Young.
teenagers
Yeah.
usually, um, that are coming in and being fat phobic, being racist, being homophobic. That's the kind of people, and
People like the old saying of like boys will be boys. I feel like has been it still kind of lives in our society nowadays. People
mhm,
kind of it's like a lazy way of saying like I don't want to deal with this issue right now.
mhm,
And like I don't know what would happen if I had a son, but I know I'm gonna
mhm,
raise my daughter to like be respectful of one another, and then also like how learn that she's being respected in a way so she doesn't get taken advantage of. And it's one of those things where it's like it's scary to see some parents kind of just be carefree, especially in like this consumerism like society where
mhm.
you have access to literally whatever you want to watch at the touch of your fingers.
Yeah.
um it's scary to think that like someone's out there going, yeah, I want to watch like hate speeches and stuff like that, and go and spread it out on the internet
Yeah.
to other people. We were talking about movies that put people in a bad light, right? Like, or
Mhm.
not bad light, but the Joker and
Mhm.
stuff. And I think there's a movie that kind of does the opposite and kind of like hero makes a hero out of like the lower end, or out of the shitty situation, like what with racism specifically. A good movie that I really enjoyed was Django Unchained. It showed the empowerment of a black man in a slave society and being able to overcome that like that downtrot of racism and like slave owners and stuff like that. I think like even for the people um that were the slave owners, they didn't get hurt in a sense of being actors that did that. They all brought on like a perfect image of like, yeah, this shit's bad, and the people that like are the slave owners are bad people. So the fact that like some movies like Peaky Blinders and Arthur kind of like, or not Arthur, Joker, put it in a sense of like bad, bad mental health equals bad guy, and bad guy does good things because he sees it that way.
Mhm.
Um, and then same thing with Peaky Blinders, where it's like, well, he does good things. Or he doesn't do good things, but he does badass things. So therefore, he's awesome, and we can just dismiss the whole like uh, sexist remark and everything like that. And
Yeah.
um, I thought of it like Django Chain kind of fits that opposite of a stereotype of that, where it's the hero kind of is right in all senses, and like sure it's wonton murder and it's a Tarantino movie and like there's blood and guts and everything like that, but
Mhm.
you don't have a reason not to root for the good guy, right?
Yeah.
And
It's very clear who the bad guys and who the good guys are in that
yeah,
movie, for sure. Um,
and that's an interesting
um,
thing about social media in general, right? It's like having somebody be the people don't care about like true heroes anymore, and not like in a full sense, but especially with how superhero movies are right now, it's so like Well, it's not as active right now because it's been a couple of years, but it was so bad when the Marvel series was out and everything like that, and everybody was like, "Oh, have you watched a new Iron Man? Have you watched a new Thor? Have you watched blah blah?" And it's just like, well, I'm kind of bored of these movies. Can we get something new? And so
Yeah.
people started coming out with anti-hero movies like the Joker and stuff like that. And I think that's where a whole like the whole like consumption of that started like
Hmm.
probably getting weird for people because some people really enjoyed it and some people are like, well, I watched this, it's a really good flick, but like the messages are just so fucked up kind of thing. And
Yeah. Or just the messages
I,
people got from it, you know?
yeah, exactly. And it
Um,
just feels inappropriate to, I don't know, like call these movies masterpieces when
yeah.
they could do so much damage too.
Yeah, they can have like a negative like cultural effect. Sorry. It actually brings
You're
in
good.
another thing that I is always interesting to me, and um it comes with like freedom of speech and that kind of stuff, but
Hmm.
not to bring up like a very I feel like people get really heated about it, but like Joe
Oh
Rogan,
yeah,
for instance, right? Like I just can't stand Joe Rogan, but he like people like him, right? Because they're just like, oh well, he just like presents all these different opinions, and you know what I mean, he's a good interviewer, and you know, and
right.
all the stuff that people say, but it's like something's got to be said to giving a platform to like hate speech, you know,
Oh
because
yeah,
like he'll have people on there that are like, you know, basically like very racist or sexist, or like I've seen clips of him and them laughing about, you know, date rape basically,
hmm,
and it's like you can make the argument, you know, that he's presenting all these different sides, and but it's also like, why do you need to give that those kind of people a platform? At least in my opinion, you know, it's like you can say that like, oh well, any reasonable person would hear this and think, you know, it's stupid or whatever, but that's not that's not what happens. There's people that hear
no,
this and
yeah,
think, oh well, I agree with that, or that's great, and and that's fine, I guess. If he wants to do it, I live your life, dude, but I don't know, to me it's just like we shouldn't be amplifying these kind of voices,
right. I
you
mean,
know.
society in a whole has like a hive mind too, right? So something that's
Mhm.
popular, like people will look more into it, right? So
Mhm.
when Joe Rogan talks about like white supremacy, all of a sudden you're going to see a spike in Googling of white supremacy kind of things where it's
Mhm.
like, we didn't have to have that in the first place.
Yeah.
Um, if anything, we could add the opposite of like
Mhm.
looking up why it's bad and stuff like that. I don't know. It's rough. It's rough because then people start to think that that's okay because
Yeah.
a popular podcaster, a popular streamer, a popular YouTuber
Mhm.
is that type of way or something, and then all of a sudden, um, then you have your next issue of like the generation raising that way.
Mhm. I mean, it's a
I've
dangerous road to go down to say
Yeah,
like we shouldn't let these voices be heard when it's like, yeah, but it's just like they can talk in the streets or they can release their own videos. It's like you don't need to necessarily give them more coverage, you
I
know?
think if you do it, don't give them like the freedom of speaking mindlessly, right? Where like
Mhm.
if they start talking about why they hate black people, just be like, well, pff, no, you can't say that here. Like,
Yeah.
let them
Like
talk about things that are specific to why they are that, other than just
yeah.
because I hate
They should be
XYZ.
actively called out. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. I think for the Joe Rogan stuff specifically, I know Jordan Peterson. Um, I don't know if a lot of listeners know who that is, but he's a big socialist. He was on the podcast and he kind of got like berated by Joe Rogan. So I feel like Rogan was trying to just spin his own narrative on his own podcast. So it kind of just feels that way of um, the guy was just trying to cause drama and be entertaining. I don't think he cared about what his platform was for. He
Mhm.
got he got entertainment out of it, and people loved watching it. So I don't think it mattered at the end of the day what was going on.
Mhm. And I also think that, and this is gonna sound like really like elitist of me to say, but the other thing is people aren't that smart. Like there's some people who are able to like question what they hear, and like, you know, have like critical thinking. Like
Hmm.
I literally took a critical thinking class in college, and it was like the professor, she was a psychologist, and she actually wrote a book called like Common Sense, and it was just like the ability to like question what you're told, and like she like had to
Hmm.
teach it in this class. And I remember my first day, it was like, I think it was like a freshman at the time. Um, I mentioned in the class that I was like atheist. I don't remember why, but like I said something, and like I didn't like notice at the time, but then she like brought it up later. She was like, "Oh yeah, like when Jessica said this, like everyone like looked at her and gave her like weird looks when she said that, and like there was like all this judgment from me for saying that. I guess I don't know, but do you know what I mean? Just like I think a lot of people, like especially when you're young, um, you don't necessarily have the ability to like critically think about what you've been told, like the
Right.
information you're fed by the media or by your family or your friends, you know. And so and it's a skill like you have to learn to question. And
Oh
so
yeah.
it's like you can say like, you know, we watched the Joker movie and we know, okay, this is not a healthy you know,
Right.
this is not like a healthy way to be. And but then like not everyone thinks critically. And so, you know, you can come out there and say like, well, you know, they can present these ideas because people, a sane person is going to believe that they're not, you know, smart. But it's like
Right.
not everyone is not sane, but you know, even like a smart person. But it's like not everyone is as smart as everyone else, and it's not a bad thing. You know, we all come from different backgrounds. We all have different educations. You know, our education system's a mess. It's not like they teach you to critically think. They teach you
Right.
just to memorize. That's what we're taught when we're in school, basically.
Yeah. Oh yeah. It's
So,
bad, but we're not
so
gonna get into that here.
yeah. So I think that's also like it's like we need an educated society. You know what I mean? If we're gonna consume all these different opinions and all these different forms of media, and it's like it's got to be shown to an educated society to be able to like
Right.
allow all that, you know. And so it's like when you just have a bunch of, I'm gonna sound terrible, but dumbass.
Well, I
And
mean,
my favorite quote
Idiocracy
is
is like the perfect movie for
yeah,
like how
yeah,
some of us are, and like I
yeah.
see myself being part of Idiocracy some days, and I
Hmm.
see myself being like the average
Yeah.
Joe.
I'm not perfect
It's
either.
both sides,
Yeah.
right?
I'm not
Yeah.
perfect either. Yeah. I don't think that I'm like just some genius or anything. But like my favorite quotes is George Carlin, who's like, think about how dumb the average person is, and then realize that 50% of the population is dumber than that.
Yeah. Right.
And so, I know it sounds terrible, but it's true to an extent,
No,
sadly.
it's
And
very
and we
true.
can all be dumb sometimes. No matter how smart you are, you can still be an idiot sometimes, and still like, um, be like swept along by certain ideas. And like that's why one thing with this whole like, we kind of briefly mentioned it last time I think, with like the whole like Johnny Depp Amber Heard thing, where it's just like I didn't really want to get like swept into any of the opinions because I just felt like there was so much of just like both sides,
Oh yeah, they're both
like
terrible people.
like I mean like not necessarily them, but like social media on both sides. I was seeing
Oh
so
yeah, yeah,
much, and like I was interested in like learning about it, but like I just never could really like, I'm not saying I didn't take a side, but I didn't really think it was like my place to be like, oh, this person's right, this person's wrong, because it's like these two people who like have been abused, like, and done terrible things, and like maybe one is worse than the other, and maybe it's clear who that is, but at the end of the day, it's just like I don't really feel comfortable being swayed by these arguments, because like I just kept hearing things about like, well, this person is like doing like basically like propaganda against the other person through social media. So it's like I
right.
was distrusting, like, you know, or like I remember like I would read one thread on Twitter that was like, you know, pro Amber Heard. But then it's like, oh, you can't trust this person because this person is, you know, and it's like then you hear one that's pro Johnny Depp and you're like, well, can I trust it? You know, it's just like I just felt, and I'm not saying you should distrust all media because I think that that's dangerous too, but in this situation, when it's just two people's personal lives and a personal thing that they went through, I didn't really feel like it was my place to say, fuck that person, you know?
Right.
I didn't feel
At the end,
comfortable doing that.
at the end of the day, it was like us literally looking at somebody's dirty laundry and
Yeah.
deciding
And
whose
like,
laundry is dirtier.
and it
It's
really hurt
so
me that people
silly.
were taking like domestic abuse so lightly, it felt like. You know what I mean?
Oh yeah,
It was like jokes when it's like this
but
is a very serious topic.
that's the issue with social media nowadays. It's like most of it's just comedic in its own value. We don't take
Yeah.
anything too seriously. Somebody gets, the shootings again. A lot of people were kind of just making jokes about it at the end of the day, and it's just traumatizing to think of like how people are so willing to be comedic in that value. And I think we talked
Yeah.
about the whole like TikTok influence and how like that type of humor just totally fucks your mind up where
Mm.
uh you're just gonna talk about like, oh yeah, I mean, oh well, not talk about this lightly, but there was after the whole trials and everything like that, Amber Heard was found, or was basically on the losing end. People started a Twitter trend of cut for Amber, and it was just like really like sad to like see people go so far as to do that. And then I think people are making fun of it on some
Yeah.
on Twitter, even making fun of people saying that. And it's just like, that's not a joking matter. People legit have
Yeah.
mental health issues if they think that's okay.
Yeah, and there's some people arguing. They're like, well, some people use humor to cope, but I'm like, I don't know. I don't think all these people were using humor to cope. I think that that's true in some senses, but I don't think these people were coping. I think they
Right.
literally were just thinking this was funny. You know what I mean?
Oh yeah.
And because like even me, like I can have a very um what's it called, like decorating humor. You know, like I can self-degradation and
Deprivation.
deprivation. Yeah, my friend and I were talking about this too, because her and I both will be like not necessarily like negative about ourselves, but like about our mental health sometimes, and I think we use it just to kind of like it's almost like a way to ground ourselves when it's just like we have all these like crazy thoughts in our head when it comes to having anxiety or depression, and it's just
Yeah.
like making like a joke out of our struggles when we've gone through it ourselves. That's different, and I'm still not saying it's okay, but it's not the same as just like calling her Amber Turd. You know what I mean? It's just like
Yeah.
it's different to me, and so I think like that just I forget what my whole point with this, but I guess just like being swayed, and it was like it would have been so easy for me to be like to read one of these things and just say, oh well, fuck this person,
Right.
and I was just like I just don't feel comfortable doing that, especially because it's like, what if we are wrong and you're just like hating on a victim? Like that to me, that's just like the saddest thing. It's just that,
Yeah, I mean, they're
and
both
they
victims in a sense. They're
yeah,
both abusers and
yeah,
victims, and
yeah,
really, we're just kind
exactly.
of
So it's just
watching like
like,
a downfall, or what's the word, like
yeah,
even worse part of the whole trials, where
mm-hmm.
they've already gone through the shit, they've already gone through hell, and now
Mm-hmm.
they're basically like publicizing it to go, hey, this is a lot worse, kind of thing. And
Yeah,
I mean, I've seen so many streamers, so many YouTubers, so many XYZers like just make fun of this whole trial, or just watch it, and like
mm-hmm.
it's like everyone's chomping at the bit to see the next drama case and everything like that,
Mm-hmm.
and it's just so like it's gross in a sense.
Yeah,
But I get it. You want entertainment, and I totally understand why people feel that way, but like,
yeah,
remember, at the end of the day, these are two humans, whether or
mm-hmm.
not that they're millionaires each, but
Mm-hmm.
boil them down. I mean, Johnny Depp and Amber will probably both be fine at the end of the day after this, but
Yeah,
um doesn't mean, like, what if we did that to someone who didn't have a grounded like paycheck, or weren't able
yeah,
to see therapy or any of that? Like, how do you think that person would deal with what millions of people basically calling them like both pieces of shit and choosing sides?
yeah.
And I don't
There's
know,
obviously
it's
something wrong
tough.
with both of them in their heads, like mentally.
Hmm.
You know what I mean? There's obviously, and like, even if they are, an abuser, and I'm not, saying it's okay, obviously, to be an abuser, but it's just, there's obviously something wrong with that
Hmm.
person, and so to make light of it and to laugh about it and make jokes about it, it just doesn't sit right with me, and so I
I
just,
think our humor is very different, but at
mm-hmm,
the same time, I think there's functionality when it comes to that type of humor, because I think we kind of use that humor ourselves. Going from, like, I don't, we haven't talked about this yet, and we're definitely going to talk about it eventually, but Gen Z humor versus other humor,
yeah,
millennials, Gen X, all different types of humors, like
mm-hmm,
um it definitely has become increasingly like chaotic in its own way.
mm-hmm, yeah,
Even from Gen X to millennials, you could see the chaos like unfolding. Like, we had
mm-hmm,
the Vine situation, um and like, not situation, but the Vine comedy, and then like embracing our like mental health issues, where we joked about it for a while. Gen X, I think, didn't make many jokes about mental health, but they did make
mm-hmm,
jokes about trans people and gay and stuff like that.
mm-hmm.
So like the way we've
Yeah.
adapted to change into the way that we are, and then now we're seeing Gen Z humor kind of like, I don't want to say devolve, but evolve in its own way to basically like make fun of anything. And comedy does run the world, right? Like comedy is a lot more what's the word? It releases those endorphins in our brains, like
Yeah.
it gets us happy. So like when you're able to laugh at anything, sure it makes you feel better, but that's not a good process of emotion.
Yeah. Well, one thing that I've been hearing a lot about that like is a way to explain, like comedy and like comedians in general is like the whole punch up versus punch down thing.
Hmm.
And it's like, yeah, like comedians' job is to basically just point out like the ridiculous things in our society. But if you're coming from a place of privilege and you're making fun of somebody who is not less than obviously, but you know what I mean, like under you in the ranking of like who gets treated right in this world, right?
Right.
Because it's like first you have like a white straight man, and there's probably like a white straight woman. Do you know what I mean? And then it's like there's like a whole we can argue over who's of who, but you know what I mean? Like who, and that's I think where like maybe there is
The
some
hierarchy kind
issues,
of
yeah, in
things,
the
I guess. Yeah.
hierarchy,
Yeah.
and so it's like to me it's like if you're a good comedian, you're actually punching up at like the bigger hierarchy of people,
Right. Or
and
if
or
you're punching down, it's tasteful, right? Like you're not trying to insult them. You're kind of like making
mhm.
fun of yourself in a sense, right?
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, yeah. That's true too. And so I think with like if you want to even just relate it to like, this whole like Amber Heard Johnny Depp thing, it's like to me it's like making fun of them. It's like you're making fun of a victim. Not necessarily on hierarchy, but still it's like making light of something that someone was hurt. And I just don't
Hmm.
feel like that's but like I just saw something this week about it about how like this comedian like made fun of like Christianity, and people were like, "Oh, well, that's messed up." Like if they were making fun of like Muslim people, like or like Islam, people would be so mad. But it's like we're in America. Like Christianity is like basically part of our constitution, almost.
Right.
Like part of our entire government. It's like the biggest religion in the world, not let alone like, or one of the biggest religions in the world, and the biggest in our country for sure. And
Hmm.
it's just like, and people are like, well, if they made fun of Islam and like somewhere else, it'd been fine. I was like, yeah, because that's like the number one religion there. But it's like here, that would not be tasteful. You know what I mean? That would
Right.
be unless you were a Muslim person making fun of it. That's different. But if you're like a white person coming out there and making fun of, them when it's like they're so persecuted in this country, there's so much propaganda against them
Oh, for
and
sure.
mistreatment. And so it's like that whole idea where it's like it's not funny when you come from that place of privilege and you're making fun of someone lower than you. I just don't think I don't find it funny. And like, yes, the jokes alone might be like funny, but like you have to think of where it's coming from. And to me, that's like kind of with the whole Dave Chappelle thing, at least to me, I just didn't think it was funny that he was making fun of trans women.
Oh,
And
yeah,
like,
yeah.
and like, yes, maybe the jokes, like he is good at delivery. He's a great comedian. His delivery is hilarious, but I felt very uncomfortable watching that,
I
you
mean,
know?
a good example. Like, okay, so I have two shows in mind that are like both there, and it's gonna be like Chappelle Show. Had its very hits and misses. Like, if you watch Chappelle Show
Hmm.
now, it's not
Yeah,
as
I used to watch
tasteful.
it. Uh huh.
Um, because like he made fun of people that were just like out of his stereotype. But I mean, um, the other ones that he hit on the nose were kind of funny, where it's just like, well, he's black, and a lot of people stereotype black people as like drug users and everything like that. So when he was
Hmm.
able to do that kind of thing is, but like at the same time, like why is he, or he's reinforcing a stereotype, but at the same time, I think as a comedian, you're allowed to do something like that. As long as you're not actively telling people to continue to reinforce it, it's more of like
Yeah.
make it obvious humor. I guess is that the right way to say it? Um, where like Bo Burnham, um, I think every one of his like videos have always been about like his mental health or his issues. Then the fact that he's like a white male and he's able to just basically do whatever the fuck he wants, and like he does that, he makes light of it, but he also is just kind of like not making light of it, and people laugh
Hmm.
at it because it's the way he delivers it is so good, right? Um,
Yeah.
like his special recently was just the what is it, the inside
Yeah, I still
inside
never watched
special.
that.
Oh,
But I
okay.
saw so much on TikTok. It was hilarious. I almost didn't want to watch it just because I thought it was funny. Like TikTok kept recommending it, like so many videos of it to me, and I never
Uh,
watched it. I'll
it's
eventually
so
will,
good.
but
Yeah.
but
It's one of those things where it's just like, and I only recently watched it. I was the same way where I was just like, well, I mean, I've seen it all over social media. Everyone's talking about it, so I don't really care. And then I watched it. I'm like, okay, yeah, that makes sense.
yeah.
It's good. Like,
Mhm.
but that type of humor just kind of like I'm wondering if in a few years if that type of humor is gonna sit well still. And in my opinion, I think it's going to. I mean, it's the same thing with like Weird Al, right? Weird Al doesn't his type of humor, his comedy music that he does isn't playing on like anything specifically stereotypical to the music he's either parodying or anything like that. Or he sits in this situation where he's not making fun of people lower than him. So I could see where you're coming from with the whole punch up kind of thing. Um, it might be tasteful in the now sense to be able to punch down, but I mean, look at history when it comes to that stuff. You're gonna you're
Mhm.
gonna you're gonna feel bad about it,
Mhm.
or somebody's gonna look at you and be like, "Well, that's bad, right? Like that's not
Mhm.
okay."
Yeah. Well, comedians, there was like one of my favorites, George Carlin. He was a comedian like when things were like people were using the R slur and people were doing all these like things that now we're like, oh, that's inappropriate. But he still stands the test. Like you don't watch his stuff and think, oh wow, like he shouldn't be joking about this kind of stuff,
Hmm.
you know? And so that's why it's like unless the hierarchy changes, I don't think you can really get in trouble for punching up, you know?
Right.
Obviously the people who are getting punched up might get butthurt, but you have to notice your privilege, you know?
Yeah.
And um, um,
This whole
so
situation didn't end up us talking about the whole hate rates and stuff like
Twitch.
that.
But
Yeah.
we're kind of talking about like hate as a culture and just like
Yeah. I think that's more
and
important
like
than Twitch specifically,
yeah,
anyways.
Twitch is like you brought it up, like this isn't just a Twitch problem. This
Yeah.
is like a culture problem, and I think we
This is
got
very
a lot.
marginalized. Yeah.
Yeah, we got a lot into like internet culture. I think is basically what it all stems into,
Yeah.
and I think we talked about that a
I
lot.
think
And
yeah. I just wanted to bring it up because I'm sure
no,
when we
I
started
was
the
thinking the same
conversation,
thing,
yeah.
but I can't really think of what else to really say. I mean, I feel like we kind of just um,
I mean, the
there,
hate rate stuff kind of is just one of those things where it's like, well, let's talk about the problem expanded rather than talk about the problem
mm-hmm,
specifically. We
yeah,
we
it's a
especially because
symptom
how we are,
of
right? Because
how
we
people
don't get
are.
as
Yeah.
much, right?
Well, I remember. Oh, I wonder if I could find this. I don't know if I brought it up on like our first podcast ever, like a year ago or whatever. But
Hmm.
there was that good question I had once that was like one of my questions of the day,
Hmm.
and it had to do with. Oops. It had to do with I don't know what it was, but it was like let's see if I can remember it. But it was like, do you think that the anonymity of the internet, like, um, like the fact that people are anonymous causes people to be more nasty, or do you think that people are already nasty and the anonymity like allows them to like do it? You know what I mean? Like, do you think it's like?
Um.
And
Yeah.
I don't really think there's like a straight answer to that, but I think
I
it's a
think I
very
think there's a
interesting
pretty
question.
like good answer to that. I mean, obviously, it's not one or the other flat, right? Um, but I mean, I've had experience with it specifically within the year of that question being asked, um, of learning about somebody who 100% wasn't what I expected, and that's kind of
Yeah.
like the the anonymous when it comes to it, where it's just like you people probably truly feel that way in one way or the other. When you
Yeah.
do something, whether or not it's for shock value, the fact that you're willing to do something like that in the first place means that there's something inherently wrong with you to be able to think that it's
Yeah.
okay to do that. So you either believe in that, or you're either in a bad place that you're willing to incite that, or you don't
Yeah.
think about your actions. Which I mean, a lot of young people are that way. So it's either
That's
they're
what I was gonna
young
say. I was gonna say, I
or
think if you're young, it could be just like the anonymity, like wanting you to just fuck around.
yeah,
But
exactly.
I think once you reach a certain level of maturity, there's got to be some truth to how you're behaving. You
I mean,
know?
with age doesn't mean comes maturity. They're
Yeah, true. That's true
truthfully.
too. But you'd hope that most people would learn something. And that's one thing that actually, to bring it back to like Twitch, that bothers me a lot too, is like when people are like nasty or something, people are like, oh, it's just kids, and it's like, that's not always true. Like, yes, a lot
Right.
of time it probably is kids, but sometimes adults are nasty too. And I don't like just like dismissing it, saying it's just kids, when it's just like, you don't always know that. and
Hmm.
and um and I think it like gives people almost an out, you know what I mean? It's like,
Yeah,
oh, they're just
exactly.
being a
Yeah.
kid, when it's just like, first of all, we don't know that, you know. Sometimes you could tell. Sometimes you can tell it's a kid, but
Right.
um
I hate Yoi.
I hate you. uh,
Still the
um
best hate message I've ever gotten.
yeah, I hate you.
Um, no,
Uh,
it's an excuse.
yeah.
Excuses are always a bad thing. I mean, I'm a parent, so it makes it really easy for me to understand that a lot more. If you make an excuse for your actions, you're never gonna exemplify those actions, or you're gonna exemplify those actions, right? Because you're gonna continue to do them because you have an excuse for what you're
Mm-hmm.
doing. Um, if you look at it and you actually try to understand why you're doing that, and that comes to the whole like common sense type of thing, where it's impossible to probably like, pin needle in a haystack kind of thing, pick it out, but um, you can come up with reasons as to why you do something, like, right? Like when you get late, when you're late for work, and when you go, oh, my car broke down, like that's an excuse. It's a good reason, but it's an excuse on why you're late for work, right? Because you
Yeah.
could have been aware that your car broke down or any of that stuff. So I mean, it's the same thing with your mental health. You know, your car broke down, that maybe you broke down, that you just blamed your car, kind of thing. But like, um, it's excusing behavior for something that can't be treated in a sense. Um, and I don't think that's okay. So when you're saying just a kid, I don't think that's okay. That's a good response, even if they are just a kid.
Mm.
Regardless of if they're just a kid, they have to be taught the right thing.
Yeah.
So at
And
the
it
end
doesn't
of the
make it
day,
okay. It doesn't make it okay.
no, no, God no.
I think people say that in the sense of just so like to try to not let it affect you as much, like to
Right.
let like the streamer get affected as much, you know, because they're just like, oh, don't give them a time of day. It's just a kid, and it's just like, first of all, like you don't know that, and like, and I think it like I think that there are, like I said, adults that act that way too. So it's just like,
Hmm.
um, you know, it's not
I
always
think
the case.
it's good to acknowledge like that. We shouldn't let them get to us too much. I mean, it's just like letting a stranger on the street tell you you look like shit. Like that's gonna affect you for a little bit, but at the end of the day, what the fuck do they know?
Yeah.
Maybe you look like shit in the bum because guess what? Like, I just went through being fired, or I just went through a breakup, or
Yeah.
blah blah blah. Like having that
Mhm.
stranger on on the street tell you that is similar to
Yeah.
the internet, because it's, you don't know who they are. You're probably never gonna remember their face.
Yeah.
Um,
For me, it's
so
rarely that like I personally feel upset by like not that, but like that I personally feel like it hurts my confidence, or if you want to say that. It's
yeah,
more just like it upsets me in the scope of like this is how human beings are, and in the scope of like other people in my community being hurt by it too, you know.
mm,
Like when I got that one person saying that like women aren't as good at Minecraft as guys. Like you think that really, like, you think I'm gonna be like, oh no, like I'm a woman, I'm never gonna be good at Minecraft. You know, like that's not really gonna.
right.
I'm not gonna like cry myself to sleep. Like I'm not personally like bothered by that, but I got really upset because it just kind of reinforced, you know,
They're trying to
the
stereotype it.
the sexism that happens in our entire culture. Like that's like one little bite of it, but that's like a issue that like encompasses, you know, it's very far reaching. And
It's a
so,
raindrop in a lake, but even a raindrop has a ripple effect, and you're trying to
yeah,
prevent that ripple effect, right?
yeah. I think like one of the only times that I got really, really personally upset was when I had that person coming and telling me to unalive myself. I had that happen once. It was a while ago. And I don't know why, but it just like they kept saying it over and over again. And then like I think my cousin Luke was in there, and he was like, "Does this happen to you a lot?" And he just kind of made me start thinking like, "Do I have somebody who like hates me that's just coming in and saying like these nasty things to me?"
Oh, jeez, yeah.
And so that like it started like getting in my head, thinking like, you know what I mean?
Right.
That there's something like there's someone out there that like has this like hate towards me or something. But it was probably just a random person. But it was just weird because like they had gone banned and they came back an hour later. We're assuming it was them, different account.
Right.
But I think that's the only time I can really remember that I was personally like upset. All the other times, like, people might think I'm like upset, but it's not like me personally. It's more just as it relates to like people as a whole and my community and stuff like that. And
I get so annoyed by random things like that because it's like they come in and tell you to do that, and then it's just kind of silly because it's like you don't even know who I am.
yeah, it's
Like,
stupid.
what effect will that even have on you if I do that kind of thing? Because
Yeah, and it
it's
was probably just a random person. I think my cousin just got in my head because,
yeah,
and he was coming from a place of love. I think he was just worried that,
yeah.
there was someone out there that was, you know,
Your
being
community
hateful
can have a
towards
huge
me.
effect on you too, especially for
Yeah.
us that have like a tight knit community.
Mm-hmm.
Having somebody say something specific to that, like it kind of it drills in your head a bit more. My shock stream that's coming up, it actually affects a couple of my viewers. I already know that, and I feel bad because I know that like they don't like it, but I
Mm-hmm.
feel like it's more it's entertaining and they're okay with me doing it. It's just they're not going to be there kind of thing.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and I understand that because it all of us go through personal things. So
Mm-hmm.
um, a message like I'm just trying to like agree with what you're saying about it affecting your community. A message
Mm-hmm.
like that could affect somebody more than it affects you because
Yeah.
at the end of the day, like I don't think any of those messages gonna bother me, right? I'm gonna be like, oh, whatever. Um, like it was just a troll. I've even had people. It's kind of funny because I think this is one of the few times where I think I have people come in and say, "Wow, you're a great streamer. You're underrated." That affects me more than somebody coming and tell me to hurt myself or die in Minecraft or this or that. Um, the someone telling me I'm a great streamer gets in my head more because it's like, well, that's nice
What
of
am
you
I
to
doing
say.
wrong or?
No, it's all positive. This is the one time where it's
Mm-hmm.
all positive where I'm just like, oh, thank you for the sweet words.
Yeah.
Um, because most of the time I'm the type of person that's like going to beat myself up more than other people. So
Oh, okay. Yeah.
somebody coming in saying something nice kind of like throws off the tempo versus like somebody else coming in telling me I'm stupid or something, right?
Yeah.
Because you expect that from random internet trolls. You don't expect
Yeah.
kindness, right?
Yeah. When it relates to like the community too, it's like I have people in my community who like really care for me, and I think that that's why they might get hurt too when like people are coming in and being hateful because they don't want to see someone that they care about being treated that way.
Yes.
And that's how I feel about people I care about too. And that's where you can kind of get into the whole thing of like, oh, then don't let it affect you. But I think that people care about me and my community because I'm human.
Hmm.
That's what they like about me is that I do show emotions and sensitivity and you know I've been told like people like I have a big heart. You know what I mean? And so it's like it's a double edged sword. It's like okay, like me being affected by this kind of stuff hurts them because they don't want to see me hurt. But if I didn't get affected by it, then would they even be there? You know what I mean? So it's just like
Right.
this. It's this weird, thing. And like at the end of the day, I'm just gonna be human, and I'll try my best, like I said, to just in the moment to not feed into the trolls, but use that as like a learning moment, a teaching moment. But um,
I kind of do both, right? Where it's like
mhm,
I'll either like make fun of them specifically.
mhm,
Um, I've been really into your mom jokes, so usually I lean into
mhm.
that or something. Uh,
The Guffy method.
yeah. They'll be like, why are you so bad at the game? I'm like, well, I was just with your mom last night. Like I would say something
Yeah.
like that.
Mm,
And sometimes I definitely go too far, but I think like going too far on my end, it kind of is just like, it's the same way around where some internet troll is making fun of you. I'm also kind of just like taking my anger, my stress out on someone that I don't truly care for. I mean,
yeah.
you're gonna come in the stream and insult me. If I'm not in the right mood, I will lash back. But like, I feel like people don't want that at all because it gives them the positive effect. But I think at the end of the day, you're human. You're allowed to do whatever you want as long as you're not
Mm,
um, hurting anybody else. And like,
yeah.
they say an eye for an eye makes the whole world go blind, and yes, that is true. I'm not saying that you should always you should lash back, but at least do it tastefully.
Yeah.
But I'm saying that we're human and we're allowed to have our emotions, and if we're in the middle of something that's causing us to like emotional stress, and then somebody eggs out into that stress, um, it's like talking to family. If
Yeah.
somebody just tells you to get over it, you're not gonna be like,
Definitely.
oh yeah, I'll get over it. No, it's
Yeah.
usually
Let me snap
you
my
snap about it.
fingers.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So.
I actually saw a funny TikTok. This guy was like, I don't really follow him, but I see his TikToks every once. He's a huge TikToker, but someone like
Hmm.
commented him saying like, "You're not depressed," and like he like made this funny TikTok like, "What? I'm not depressed," and he pretended to call his therapist. He's like, "You're fired," like because like someone just said like, "No, you're not depressed."
Right.
Like it's not like that. Like you telling me I'm not depressed, like it's not gonna solve my depression. And it's just like,
Right.
and like that's the thing is that circling back, a lot of times only starts to bother me when it's like relentless, you know what I mean, when it's just
Hmm.
like one-offs like are easy to roll off, but it's like I've had streams where like five, it's always happens when I get a lot of viewers too. If I get like a big raid and I am in the
Hmm.
hundreds, it's when like it's the worst happens. I get a bunch of sexism, and then it just fucks my head too, because it's just like, okay, well, what if I do get big one day? This is gonna be my life, you know what I mean? It's like
Right.
every day is gonna be like this, and it's really what's the word, like disheartening, or like that's not really the right word, but it's really sad, because it's like, and this goes relates to all internet culture. It's like the bigger your platform, the more hate you get,
Yeah.
and it's something that and like we have small communities, we're small streamers, and so we still get it sometimes, but it's not a lot, you know,
Right.
and but it's
I
like,
think something to prevent you from feeling disheartened that way is like there are big streamers out there
mm,
that are women, and
mm,
they probably deal with hate constantly, but
mm,
they have ways to stop it. They have word filters and everything like that. And I think the more
yeah,
adept we get at it, the better we are to know like
yeah, for
we can
sure.
stop this from happening, kind of thing. So it
Hmm.
not to cut you off, sorry. It was just
No,
more so
no,
I
you're
think.
fine. Yeah, and I know I'll be okay. It's just like it always just kind of like frustrates me.
Disheartening. Yeah.
Yeah, it's frustrating. Um, that's like I can't be just happy in the moment. It's like, oh, I have all these viewers. I'm meeting new people. I'm having fun. And it's like you want to enjoy it, but that's like, oh wait, I forgot. This is what happens. I get people saying disgusting things to me. So
Right. Yeah,
it's
forgot about the
just,
rude people.
yeah. But I'm sure you get used, like not like used to it, like it's okay, but like you said, like you get tools in place to handle
Yeah.
it, and but it's like when I'm just thrown into the fires, it's different.
It's a learning experience for sure.
Yeah, yeah.
I mean, life's all about learning.
Mhm.
And I think that's what like we're all trying to learn, or we're trying to get here is um our opinions across to, first of all, our viewers that actually or not our viewers, our listeners that actually watch this, and new viewer listeners is we are human.
Mhm.
Our opinions are our own, right? And like even if I feel like for example, like both Johnny and Amber are terrible people, you might feel that one is more justified. And I think at the end of the day, like as long as you're doing research and
Mhm.
understanding why you feel that way,
Yeah.
um, that's what's critical to both me and you is
Yeah.
like,
And not making light of it. I'm okay with
yeah,
like I'm not mad that people like chose sides at the end of the day. It's just like the the making light of a serious topic,
oh yeah,
and
absolutely,
because like even in there's so many things in the world that are so complex, and it's just like being so one side and anti the other side, and like toxic to the other side in most situations isn't really healthy,
hmm,
because everyone's a human being and everyone's just trying their best, and dealing with the cards that they were dealt, when it
right.
comes to their mental health and things that they've gone through. And not excuse,
Social
but
media,
I'm very big on understanding people,
yeah,
and seeing where they come from. Not necessarily to give an excuse, but just to kind of just look at the humanity of every person, because I think it's important.
oh for sure, for sure. I think also thinking just like big picture here, social media has come a long way, right? Like
Mm,
I think the first big like shock to a lot of people was Vietnam War and being able to watch that televised and like seeing all the gore and everything like that, like what war actually was. I think it threw humans for a loop and the travesty that we have dealt with as humans. So up until now where it's like, well, okay, we're just making fun of like a court case like that or
yeah,
things like that. It's come a long way from being traumatized to basically like kind of rolling with the punches. And I think we need to have a midway there, like not make fun of it, but also not let it affect us. And it's a hard line to uh trout, but I think I don't think it's okay to make fun of two people that are basically anonymous, not anonymous, basically like unknown to us. That we don't know Johnny's everyday life. I mean, TMZ might follow them all day, might follow him all day, but what is he truly thinking? What is he truly doing? Kind of thing. Same with
yeah.
Amber, kind of thing.
And like what kind of power these people hold, you know?
Yeah, yeah, exactly. And like how much
Um,
influence they've had on each other and everything like that. It's just hard to look over.
do we want to wrap up maybe?
Yeah, we can wrap up. I mean, it's been 2 hours. Poor
Yeah.
Mel.
I know. That's what I was thinking. I was like, oh. um,
It's just because we missed the last podcast. You guys get an extra,
yeah,
what, 45
30
minutes?
minutes, 30, 40 minutes.
Yeah.
Yeah. Do we have a question that we could think of? I don't know.
Um, I mean, there's a couple questions we could ask. Do you guys, yeah, either like do you guys think that social media nowadays makes more fun or more makes light of more things more often than it used to, or do you
Mm,
still think it's the same?
yeah.
Or the question could be like, do you feel as though like hate raids are exclusive to Twitch or like, yeah, I guess hate raids or like insulting are exclusive to Twitch and like YouTube and stuff like that, or does it spread across the internet? I think the first
Or
one's better. I mean, whatever
yeah.
you have. If you have a better question, go for it.
I don't know if it's better, but I was thinking also um like do you think the best thing to do is to ignore them? Do you think it's it's good
Oh
to
yeah.
address it when someone comes in with something hateful, either be like a hate raid or just some one-off person being, you know, an asshole? Like as a viewer,
Yeah,
um
how would you address it? Maybe.
yeah.
How would you address the hateful person or
Yeah, like do you think it's best to just pretend they aren't there? Do you think it's good to like bully them back? Um or like, you know what I mean? Like I don't know. I'm curious what people's opinions are on what they think is like the best course of action in that situation. I don't think there's necessarily a right answer, but I
yes.
think everyone is welcome to deal with it the way they want to.
At the end of the day,
And
we're all human. We get to make our own choices.
I think that's when I get annoyed when people are like, "This is how you have to deal with it." I think that's what frustrates me when it's like,
Yeah.
if that's how you want to deal with it, that's great, and maybe you're right, but you know, this is how I want to deal with it, and this is how I'm going to deal with it. And so
Right.
I think I'm just curious what other people's opinions are, you know, and I don't think there's a wrong opinion, so for the most part,
Absolutely.
I'm sure there is, but
we have our opinions are what a wrong opinion is.
so be
That doesn't
careful if
mean
you
you're
say it,
wrong.
you're gonna get in trouble. No, I'm just kidding. No, you're welcome to share.
Be sure to
But yeah,
berate that person that we think is wrong. Okay? No, I'm just
yeah,
kidding.
we're
Please
gonna send you some hate mail. No, I'm just kidding. Um, I hate yoy. That's what we're gonna say.
I
in
hate
here.
Yoy.
Anyways, that was good. I mean, like I said, we kind of got a little off topic, but we kind of said we kind of got off topic, but
Yeah,
I think it was
that was the goal. I mean, not the goal, but I feel like we just do whatever we want at the end of the day.
Yeah,
As long as we have
yeah.
something center on and
Yeah,
to talk
kind of
about.
guides our conversation.
Yeah.
And we brought it back, so
Yeah. We should end before we continue.
yeah. I
Thank you
know.
everybody for listening. I'm Jake.
I'm Jessica, or the insane person.
Yeah, this has been the Geeks and Geeks podcast.
Bye.
Bye-bye.